What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part, I want to say, 72 of my Total Warhammer 3 Ikit Claw Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Headtaker destroyed the second of the Crooked Moon armies that were foolishly near him, and so did we also destroy the Karak dwarfs with Plague and Morphific and Obside. These three armies that have been working in concert for a while. It was sort of accidental that we destroyed the Karak dwarves in the sense that we were going after the Crooked Moon and destroyed their army, but hey, if it works, it works. That is 2 down now in terms of the endgame scenario enemies, Karak as well as the clan Angrand dwarfs. I suppose you could technically count the Bloody Hands in it, but they didn't spawn with the endgame scenario armies, so I'm not entirely sure whether we should or we shouldn't. At the very least, 2 more main factions of dwarfs are gone. Now, in terms of what we left off last time, we have all the money we had pretty much spent, and Corpable still sieging Karak Zorn. Now, this is what we're going to start off with this episode. We're going to attack Karak Zorn and hopefully, well, sack it first and then occupy it, and then move north. And I just realized that this place has a gold mine, so despite the fact that I'd prefer not to use too much food, it does look like we're probably better off doing so. And we're only gonna get probably 20 food for this, aren't we?
Not likely.
Really too bad we couldn't go after this little army, because then we could have destroyed this for bonus food and then go after the main one. But oh well, I mean, it is a gold mine after all, and we want to up and running as fast as possible. Anyway, before we get started, one quick reminder, once again, not forget to cast your votes down in the community tab on the channel. The first of the SFO campaigns will be up at some point today, whenever they upload, and then the other 2, the next 2, are still being voted on. So there's 4 polls out there, the latter 2 are still being voted on, and at least one of them is close enough that votes very much make a difference. I swear that'll be the last reminder, but I'm not known for keeping my promises, so we'll see. Alrighty, now it's time to jump in on this settlement. Garrison is full of Longbeards, which should be tough enough for our Storm Vermin, but we do have a number of giants, though I suppose we'll need to be wary of those thunderers. The fact is, Corpable wasn't really designed to be as good in sieges as certain other armies were, so I'm a little bit concerned about the thunderers and quarrelers, and I suppose to a slightly lesser degree iron drakes gunning down those giants. Well, let's see what we can do.
So be it.
Alrighty, so be it. Corpable, looks like you're gonna have some fun today, and I do think that this should be a pretty darn fun battle in general, mostly because Corpable's army is, once again, as I was saying, not so good at sieges. We do have the Warp Lightnings to knock down the towers, though it'll take a few shots at the very least, but otherwise it's just infantry, primarily. While we do have our Warplock Jezzails, they're not particularly useful for taking walls and moving within the city, so yeah, it'll have to be an infantry assault, which are always pretty glorious to watch. Now, obviously, we are going to knock down those towers first, but Corpable's going to start working on that gate as well. He should be knocking that down after some time. There you go. You enjoy yourself there, Corporal. And is that a unit of whirlers? They decided to move into melee. Okay, well, more power to them, I suppose. If they want to get vomited on by the Brood Horde, that's their business. And ooh, it looks like Corporal's in a little bit of danger here every time the gate opens up, to, I'm sure, his great annoyance. The Iron Drakes and the Thunderers hit him and are already starting to do some damage. He's down by about a quarter, maybe almost a third of his HP, and oh, that's not so great. It looks like the gate shut and he got stuck on the inside of the settlement. He's now at half HP, he's burned, so his leadership is dropping, and we're going to have to move into the settlement. A menace below summoned on top of him effectively, just try to tie up some units, and we're gonna pop that healing potion Standard Eye to try to get some of his HP back. That said, Oh wow, okay, those Iron Drakes are gonna damage some of his, or some of their own allies first, but we're gonna have to stop them because it looks like they were damaging Corporal pretty heavily as well. I've been generally fairly impressed with how much damage the Iron Drakes do to single units, or single entity units rather. And that's why we're gonna have to knock them down. They seem to be a pretty decent option even when you aren't using the Trollhammer torpedoes for this. It looks like Corporal is also down to his healing cap, which ain't so great. But at the very least, he should be able to take care of the Iron Drakes without any kind of problem. They're no threat to him either. And now we are starting to move into the settlement. The Giants have knocked down the gate and are ready to enter the city with Corporal's Plague Priest to try to help him out. We've also started to knock down the walls, so there has been a breach opened up, and our Storm Vermin, as well as our Death Globes, are gonna move in. Corporal's still at half HP, but it looks like he should be fine, and at the very least, I don't think the dwarves have any real way to kill him. If he were to rout, he's so fast that he'd be able to get out. Though one of the unfortunate aspects of the Brute Horrors is that while they are very, very quick, their melee defense is kind of meh, and on top of that, their mass seems to be surprisingly low, as in they have a fairly difficult time actually getting out of a formation. So we do have to be careful in that regard. Alrighty, well, the Giants are in, and they are supported by that Plague Monk sensor. Oh, I love that animation. Well done to the Giants. I'd like to see that again, if possible. And the Giants are now getting fired upon by the enemy cannon. There is a single one out there, and on top of that, there are Thunderers thundering away at our Plague Priest, who will have to be careful as well. In the meantime, though, there are Storm Vermin entering the city, and our Plague Priest will be summoning as many Plague Monks and Vermintide clan rats as he possibly can to distract the enemy, while we assault this breach in the enemy's defenses. Corporal still distracting those Iron Drakes, but is also now meeting some Dwarf Warriors, and we're going to just try to get out of that so he doesn't take any further damage, as he's already, once again, in his healing cap. Otherwise, it's a matter of trying to distract as many of these enemy ranged units as possible, and there are quite a few. Thunderers, Iron Drakes, plenty of Quarrelers as well. Oh, there's a third Thunderer, and more Thunderers back, or more Quarrelers back here, and more Quarrelers, and there's cannons. So yeah, we need to stream into the city, we need to summon, and everybody needs to try to distract as best they can. The enemy also does have a unit of gyrocopters up in the air, but it should be knocked out by the Warp Lightning cannons firing on them reasonably quick. At least this is something for the Warp Lightnings to do, as otherwise they'd be having a tough time contributing to the battle. And this is why earlier in the campaign, probably would have been at least 15 episodes ago at this point, why I was considering replacing the Warp Lightnings in Corporal's army instead with Plague Claws, because they could have at least fired over the walls and at this stuff. And they both can knock down walls. And I'm still tempted to get the replacement. I'll think about it. And the only reason I haven't gotten them is because we've been relying on Plague Claws a little bit too much. Though granted, the Skaven have a surprising lack of different types of artillery, with it just being Plague Claws and Warp Lightning cannons. I feel like they need a couple more different artillery pieces, just to get something a little bit different. I mean, with all the crazy contraptions they come up with, you know that they'd have the ability to build more stuff. And yeah, we got the mortars, but they're technically not an artillery piece, but a weapon team. Anyway, let's see how we're doing in here. Corporal is moving in once again with the summoned Plague Monks together to try to distract those Thunderers. It looks like we've managed to kill one of the units of Thunderers that was firing on our Giants here, and are now able to move our Death Globes in to hopefully help everybody else out. The main battle is still the Giants and the Storm Vermin versus piles of Longbeards, Warriors, and Slayers, and I do imagine this one at least is going to be going on for quite a while yet. Unlike where we have the Jezzails to absolutely decimate the enemy elites, in this particular situation with these sieges, we actually do have to work for it quite a bit. Alrighty, and I like these two Giants working together. And then we have the other giant who is working by himself. This is a strong, independent giant who don't need no packmaster. He is currently dueling the enemy Rune Lord, and that is probably going to go in the Rune Lord's favor over time, so we can obviously get out of here. Would actually have been nice if we had our Jezzails, but it'll take them a while to move into the settlement, as they could have otherwise sniped the Lord who is currently distracted. Fortunately, our Death Globes are also now in the settlement and have destroyed a unit of Quarrelers with their first volley, and are about to destroy another one with their second. There we go. I think those were Thunderers, not Quarrelers, but, well, I guess they all look the same after they've been Death Globed. Oh, you gotta love this unit when it gets in range. I can't wait to build our Death Globe army, or our Death Globe and Poison Wind army. It's getting very near. Within the next couple of episodes, we'll be able to swap the units around. Anyway, the forward advance does continue. Storm Vermin running towards more Thunderers and Quarrelers. Unfortunate for us that the enemy ranged units are actually fairly decent combatants by virtue of being dwarfs, so we do still have to work for it. On the bright side, it does seem to have been the right move to advance the Storm Vermin with halberds rather than the sword and shield, as the latter were needed more to fight the enemy giant slayers and warriors and such. Whereas these guys, while they are certainly more vulnerable to range fire, they are weaker in melee. Although they do have the armor piercing. Ooh, we gotta watch out for that. No, not so much. Those Death Globes are just knocking copters out of the sky, and this is why you shouldn't have an open cockpit. Because that's what happens. Death Globe flies in your face and then you're dead. Alrighty, more Death Globes coming in, and this is going to hurt our own Storm Vermin, but it's going to hurt the enemy. Hopefully more. There we are. And let's see, it looks like, is the enemy Lord done, or is he running away? No, it looks like he was indeed killed by the giant and by Corporal and his pile of Storm Vermin, working on him. Otherwise, it looks like the balance of power has certainly shifted in our favor to about 75%. The enemy giant slayers are holding, but it looks like not for much longer. The dwarfen warriors are routing here, and will probably hold out for at least a little bit longer down here, but this is also a terrible position. Not a great matchup for them against the Storm Vermin with sword and shield, and on top of that, we have the high ground. I love watching these little infantry battles. Although I guess this isn't such a little infantry battle after all, but nonetheless. This is the thing I like the most about historical titles, where you can actually watch the battle unfold for quite a while, whereas it's fairly rare in Total Warhammer. I guess one of the things I like about SFO is the slightly slower battles. Bit of an improvement on vanilla. Anyway, it looks like these dwarf warriors are just about done, so are the enemy giant slayers, slain ironically by a giant. And finally, we are getting our Warplog Jezzails in. They have a nice little hill to set up on, and they will be killing Thunderers fairly quickly, by the looks of it. Finally, we have some range superiority. Though at this point, so many of the enemy range units are dead, it shouldn't be a surprise that our own range is going to be effective. Otherwise, we're streaming into the enemy miner supply location here to try to stop the enemy Iron Drakes and cannons from firing. The Iron Drakes are down to 1, but Corporal should be able to take care of that, hurt though he is. It's just a single Iron Drake. The cannons are overwhelmed by our Storm Vermin now, and we also have our Death Globes moving in to try to deal with the rest of the enemy Quarrelers and Longbeards as they move in. Looks like a few more volleys should see these guys off. At least that's the dream. And it does look like the battle is just about ready to go our way. I imagine that enough of the enemy units will have been destroyed shortly for them to rout, especially with their lord having been killed. Alright, well done to the Death Globes. These ones actually arcing over the enemy melee, charging them, and hitting the enemy Quarrelers right behind them. The single volley basically destroying them. The miner supply location being captured by us and destroying the enemy towers and barricades, and with that, it looks like the enemy decides that they will fight no more. We certainly got a decent amount of use out of those death globes once we entered the city, but it did take the giants and the storm vermin to break through. It was a little bit touch and go there with Corporal for a few seconds, I gotta say. It is kind of an annoyance that that bug where your unit gets trapped by the opening gate still happens. If anything, he should still be able to run outside, especially if the gate opens. It's always been kind of silly. I hope that they fix that one someday, because getting your units trapped or your lord trapped behind the gate only for it to die must be pretty darn irritating. It certainly happened to me a couple of times in the past, though I don't remember which campaigns at this point. Anyway, a decisive victory for us, so it looks like we didn't suffer sufficient losses for the game to have called it a close victory. I do imagine a decent amount of the storm vermin would have gotten pretty badly beat up, but that's probably all the damage that we took, other than Corporal. Well, let's find out. Well, to be fair, most of the army is made up of storm vermin, so and damage to them could still be pretty significant. But there's no nearby armies to take advantage of it, so it matters not. Well, there we go. That was a very, very fun fight. You gotta love those classic infantry assault style sieges where you're not just bombarding stuff. Yeah, bombarding stuff's more efficient, but these are just very fun to watch. Now, obviously, we're gonna sack the place. Should be a decent amount of cash from this. Alright, and income from sacking settlements plus 8%. Man, how are you still not maxed out on that? I suppose Corporal hasn't been sacking nearly as much as certain other lords haven't. Oh, I did not realize it. We are actually at max movements. Damn. Well, that ain't so great. We're going to have to deal with Karak Zorn's garrison next turn. I should have just taken... I completely forgot that he couldn't move anymore, but oh well. Oh well, his army is at full enough HP that I don't think it's going to make any kind of difference either way. Now, let's see if there's anything else left. We still have some money, or we now have some money that we can spend, but I'm not sure that anybody else still has to move or do anything. Mutant, yada yada yada, Bak the Lethal. Alright, okay, we should probably do your skill points, just in case these guys are able to attack you next turn. And Mechanic Gear looks like the only one. Alright, so two things to do. First of all, we need to double check if there are any good heroes available, as we might want to summon. A no for the sorcerers. Let's check Packmasters, Confident and Fleet-Footed. Nope. Warlock Engineers. There's a tough Warlock Engineer, which is something, but these guys should really never be in combat anyway. Okay, well, it looks like nothing in terms of heroes. I guess we could still check Chieftains somewhere. Actually, there should be one near here. Alright, Chieftains, Tactician, Warpstone Hoarder, and Strategist. Warpstone Hoarder is okay. Let's summon a couple of these and delete them just in case. Maybe we'll get some better ones next time. I'm not actually sure who needs Chieftains at this point, but nonetheless. Alright, that looks good to me. Bak, let's assign your points. Now, in terms of what definitely has to be assigned, we definitely need engineering skill. No doubt about that whatsoever, considering the number of plague claws that we have. Now, they won't benefit from anything else, so it's Blastmaster engineering skill, but we do probably want to have stand or die. Otherwise, we'll probably want to get lightning strike, just in case we're sieged rather than immediately attacked. So what we'll do then, let's go for, I guess, once again doesn't matter, but Draft Master. We'll have 3 points. Yeah, well, we won't be able to stand or die. Or we won't be able to get stand or die because we need lightning strike, but, well, it's gonna be worth it. Alright, and then I guess we'll get Warp Smart. Nobody benefits from this right now anyway, because nobody's at rank 7, but, nonetheless. Warp Grinders, Doom Flayers, yada yada yada, but it's the Warp Lightnings and Plague Claws that we care about right now, and the weapons teams as well. Too bad he doesn't have one more point. Otherwise, your Chieftain. You do not need training. Too bad you can't get Suspiciously Loyal. One more point. Well, That and Paranoid Defender and whatnot, but it's okay. Let's get you Blade Shield. Wait, you're not on your Bone Breaker, so yeah, Sneaky wouldn't be all that useful. And, oh. I only put 1 point in. Okay, and then your one caster. Warp Lightning Spam is the name of the game. I guess what we could do is get 1 point in Death Frenzy. Also, what do you have? Oh, you're Sharp Teeth. Yeah, you're kind of here temporarily. You are not going to be kept around. Oh, and you have a wasted point in boost income here, don't you? Should probably reset you so that that point isn't wasted. Why do you even have boost income? Actually, out of curiosity here, what's our most money-making territory? The Wasteland at 4K. I do have to wonder whether it would be worth it to put a Warlock Engineer to boost the territory. How much money would they gain? Income modified by an additional 6%. What's the base percentage modification, I wonder? So it's 7% here, plus an additional 2, so 5% base. And 6, so it gives you 11% then. Would 11% be enough? Probably not. So Marienburg generates 4,100. So it's an extra 400-ish? Yeah, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Especially considering we have a limited amount of Warlock Engineers we can get. Well, either way, we need to do 2 things. You have an engineering student, so we don't need to give you one of those. But we do want to reset your skills, because you've got that useless boost income point. And then we'll probably want to get Warp Lightning. Possibly there's some use for Scorch. I can certainly envision a use for it. And then Death Frenzy. On the other hand, we definitely want Standardized Firing Drill and Ammunition. Ammunition does tempt me as well. We've certainly run out of ammunition before. Howling Warp Gale, do we want a point in that? Need 3 points, We also have the reduction on the cost of Scorch. I don't see any Manticores. I guess, wait, the Lords would be, or Wyverns. The Lords would be on Wyverns. There's 1. Do we get Howling Warp Gale for a single Wyvern Lord? It may allow it to instantly get killed by the Rattling Guns. It may still be worth it. Alright, fine. 1 point in Howling Warp Gale. We'll get 1 point in Death Frenzy, and then I guess 1 point in Scorch. I think we're gonna ignore these. We don't have enough mana. Well, actually, we do have mana. Maybe worth it to cast Flensing Ruin at least once on some of the bigger units. I don't like Karak's calls, so it's probably a waste of our time. But maybe Flensing Ruin. On the other hand, we buff up instead stuff that we're much more likely to use, like Death Frenzy, with the added effect area, which might power up the clan rats here, but would we be in a big enough blob to take advantage of that? Somehow I doubt. I think we might be better off just getting either another point in Scorch, which... Okay, all this does is give us extended effect duration, extended cast range. And twice the amount of mana. We probably still wouldn't use it over the Warp Lightning, that's the thing. So the question then is evasion into Flensing Ruin, or just more missile strength or ammunition. The armor reduction on a pile of units is useful, but there's no guarantee that we'd actually get a pile of units to use it on, because it'll be a siege. Unless we fight on the field, but in the field... Well, we have, like, no melee to fight in the field. Yeah, you know, I think I'd rather just spam Warp Lightning upgraded a bunch of times. Let's get Triangulation instead. Get a little bit of extra damage, and we'll hope we won't run out of ammo. Also, we'll really hope that they can't actually reach us here. We'll have to find out. I'm thinking that they can, though. This is in raiding camp stance, and it can almost reach Karak Flag. Hopefully it's just 2 of them that can reach us. As if it is, we could probably Lightning Strike destroy one, or Lightning Strike damage one, and then back off. Anyway, with that, we're ready to end... No, we're not, I lied. We gotta double check buildings again. Reichland, I was gonna get these chained sentry beasts rather, and we might as well get them now so that we have the money. Riverlands, hold on to these deep burrows. Wait, are the Skaven plagues gone? It's the Skaven plagues we're worried about. We don't really care about the non-Skaven plagues. Oh, okay, so the Skaven plagues are gone, so you don't really need this anymore. I guess these could still be irritating, but eh. Oh. Defensive supplies minus 500? Oh, that could actually hurt Erengrad. I don't like that. Damn it, Festus. Why you gotta be like that? On the other hand, it feels like it's a waste of a slot to keep this here. It does generate money. It also kind of bothers me that we keep looking at it. Ugh. Alright, let's just ignore it for now, or continue to ignore it. Actually, you know what? That's the only building that we have other than Axbite Pass, which is kind of unnecessary and doesn't do anything for us. Let's just build it so I don't see it anymore. No. And then I won't be reminded to delete it later. Fine. Ignore the rest. Commandment available. Let's do commandment. Let's end the turn. Let's see what happens. Expansion is planning for you, Castle Artois. Heroes not moved. I think we checked those. Outposts available. Karak Angazar. Don't really care about that one, and we're working on the Death Gorge one. So we'll ignore those, and that's it. Alrighty, here we go. Let's see about the possible attacks, which will most likely happen here, if they do happen. Wait. Am I confusing this with the Vlad campaign? Yes, I am. Okay. Just double checking that there weren't a bunch of armies here. And fortunately for us, there are not. And we're about to... Oh, Scarby, what do you want, buddy? What do you want? You want us to join war against Khemri? No, you can keep fighting him. Like, he's distracting you, you're distracting each other, it's all fine. We don't have to worry about either of you while you're busy with each other doing that. Looks like Talakwa wussed out and didn't attack Shaif down south, so Shaif will have to take the fight to them. Rakadrin, you're going to attack Needling. Well, that's interesting. This might be worth a fight. Not... Oh, damn. Maybe I could have summoned a temporary lord here. Not that we care about any of these territories, mind you, but we could certainly very badly damage this army. Man, if we had a couple Plague Claw catapults, this would be very much doable. But let's fight nonetheless. Alrighty, so obviously we can't win this, but what we can do, as per the plan here, is to damage this army. In that light, we have some specific targets that we don't get quite the choice I'd like, because it depends on where the enemy has deployed. So we can basically choose one side, and luckily the enemy did deploy both of its organ guns on this side of the map, which means almost our entire army is deployed on this side as well, with just a couple of units back here to possibly hold the tide back for a few extra seconds. The idea is essentially to overwhelm these portions of the enemy army and destroy the organ guns while their units are distracted. Of course, the organ guns are going to fire into our blobs of units as they try to get out of the city, but at least this one appears like it's going to fail by smashing its shots into the wall here. Perfect. And it does look like both of these organ guns do have a unit of slayers protecting them, which are vulnerable to our Skaven slingers, so at least we could maybe kill those. Anyway, should be a fairly short battle. We're just going to try to do our best to kill these organ guns and head directly towards the enemy in a big blob. This does mean that we don't get much of a chance to make good use of our towers on this map, but it is what it is. We're still only at 1,000 allegiance, or not allegiance, a supply anyway, which does mean that it's going to take a while to get a good tower. Now, looks like the organ gun is firing directly into the middle of our storm vermin and clan rats, which is very much not so great. We did want to preserve these storm vermin as they are our lord unit, and that ain't working out so well. Maybe I should have... Oh my lord. Maybe I should have kept those guys behind while the rest of our units moved in. But a little late for that. We just got to make sure we engage that organ gun a little bit faster. Looks like they're positioned reasonably well as well on top of this little kill firing over the engaged units and into our precious storm vermin, who are now at about half HP. I'd care a little bit more if we were intent on actually preserving these units. Anyway, we were able to move our gutter runners behind the enemy. They are chucking their shurikens into the slayers here, and the slayers are also getting hit by those knight runners with slings, as obviously they're the least armored and the most likely to take damage from all that. Even the miners have 95 armor. How do miners have 95 armor? Oh man, insane. And actually, just out of curiosity, do we have a unit of dwarf warriors here somewhere? Regular dwarf warriors? No, they've only brought elites. Huh. Oh, I guess it is a Ironbreakers, a Longbeards. Yeah, I guess since it is a endgame scenario spawn, they're not going to be bringing Dwarf Warriors, but only higher tier units, so it makes sense. I just wanted to double check what the armor rating is on the Dwarf Warriors as compared to the Miners. Anyway, similar sort of thing and going on this side at the same time. We have our Slingers that are now surrounding the enemy, and we'll soon be moving around to hit them in the back. A Menace below has been summoned on top of the enemy organ guns on this side, as well as a unit of Clan Rat Spears who have charged them, and hopefully between those two units they will be able to hunt them down and kill them to a dwarf. They are down to 8 units after all, so it looks like, if nothing else, this unit will be done for. Now it's a matter of trying to get through the armor of all of these heavily armored units, which frankly I doubt is going to be very likely. Even the Iron Drakes, just to compare them in terms of tankiness to the weapon teams of the Skaven, are very, very tanky in melee, especially against basic troops like clan rats and Skaven slaves here, which is all we have. So our melee units will lose over time. All we can do is hope that our slingers, by hitting the enemy in the back, will do enough damage to kill at least a couple more of those units. Looks like we finally managed to tie up the organ guns over here, and we are now using our shurikens to hit into the back of the enemy here. Ideally, we'd like to kill these hammerers, but I'm not sure that it's actually a possibility considering the units that we have. They already have 165 kills and are certainly doing good work, and we did move the remnants of our Storm Vermin unit to try to apply some of their armor piercing to damage said hammerers. I was thinking about moving them to hit them in the back, but then the shurikens wouldn't be able to hit them, so yeah, oh well. And then here comes another unit of Menace below, just to try to get a little bit of extra meat shield in front of the Storm Vermin, while the hammerers, so that the hammerers rather, don't kill them all. Balance of power is obviously very much in the enemy's favor, and the enemy is moving throughout our settlement, but as I said, we're basically abandoning the settlement here. Looks like the Slayers are dying, fortunately. They're down to 19 here. We should be able to kill them outright. Maybe this Thunderer unit as well, if we can catch it. But the Slayers are going to have to be the priority. I mean, they wanted the Doom after all. We're just giving them what they want. Even though this is kind of an inauspicious battle to die in for a minor settlement that we don't really care about. But nonetheless. Hopefully we can damage this army so significantly that it will no longer be viable to take other settlements. Or that maybe another army nearby, like Festus's army, can kill it. Festus does have an army nearby, although it is pretty hurt. We'll see. Or does he have 2 armies nearby? We'll check right after this. Well, actually, we'll check after the end turn is over, but we will check eventually as well. Alrighty, now those Slayers are dropping down to 5, and it looks like we will manage to kill those, and afterwards be able to switch to those Thunderers as well. The Thunderers, of course, also pretty darn heavily armored at 100, but at least they should be a little bit more fragile in terms of getting hurt by melee at the same time. Looks like our clan rats have broken, so the blob is going to run forward, and we're just going to have to try our best to keep it in place with those units that we have remaining. And oh, it looks like we do finally have a tower up and running. A little bit late as the battle is nearly over, but at least it'll get a few more shots and maybe badly damage a few of those extra units. Let's also check back on this side. It looks like we did manage to see off the organ guns, but unfortunately our gutter runners are now out of ammunition, so they won't be achieving too much here. The hammerers are down below half HP, but they still have more than half of their models, and with only the slingers attacking them, I'm not sure that we can kill them. The storm vermin are too hurt. Oh well, we'll see. At least it's going reasonably well on this side. And once again, it's just a matter of trying to reduce the enemy forces by as much as possible. Alright, a reasonably decent shot there, tower. Would be nice if you hit more center mass, but you can't have everything. At least it didn't miss outright. I mean, like that. Exactly like that. Oh man, you have a very limited number of shots available to you, tower. You gotta make them count. And I kind of hit on the edge of the enemy. Looks like it managed to kill 2. Many more rats are dropping than dwarfs, but that is hardly surprising. Alright, that was finally a decent shot. Very nice, very nice. What do we have now? The Slayers are done for. We got 28 Thunderers remaining. Gotta try to make them dead. The rest of the enemy army is nearly here. We're gonna try to hold ground at this explosive tower in the hopes of allowing it to fire for just a little bit longer. Alrighty, come on. I am enjoying these infantry clashes, though. I guess it's one of those infantry clash episodes, huh? Which we don't get to really all that much of in terms of the Skaven campaign, because we use a lot of fancy gadgets and weapon teams and whatnot. Alrighty, these dwarfs are finally starting to look like they're getting overwhelmed here. The Thunderers are nearly done for. The Longbeards still have 50 units though, even though they're down to nearly a sliver of HP. And it looks like our clan rats might actually rout before the rest of them die. I was hoping to kill those Iron Drakes, but they're just too difficult to bring down. Over on this side, it looks like the Hammers and co did manage to break through our blob here, but that's hardly surprising. And we did move our unit of storm vermin, such storm vermin that remained anyway, out of there just to try to preserve them, as they are our lord unit and we don't want the morale shock to end the battle early. Alright, come on, slingers. The slingers are nearly out of ammunition as well. If they run out, there's probably no way we bring those Thunderers down. They are down to 4 units, but I think that they remain viable with that number. 2, the unit will definitely die, though. 3 now, I'm not sure about 3. I wish that you could easily access the information about when a unit becomes non-viable, as in when you can stop chasing it. But you have to remember the exact unit count, or, well, actually you have to remember the percentage and then the exact unit count, but I don't remember what the percentage is in Total Warhammer 3, because it changed from Total Warhammer 2. I'm pretty sure it used to be exactly 10%, but then it's less now. So it's a little bit harder to bring units down. Anyway, it looks like we did finally manage to kill that unit of Thunderers. The Iron Drakes are still alive, but I doubt we're going to be able to bring them down. Those Longbeards, though, we got 4 of them left. Might be able to kill them, if we can manage to kill at least 1 or 2 more. Ah, they got 38 HP, and look at that, they're still fighting, and they're active and steady. Wait, how are they active? They were fighting that entire time. Wait. They have perfect vigor? How do they have perfect vigor? I gotta go back in this video to double check whether their information card there. Or maybe I saw something else, because they were fighting for several minutes straight. They definitely shouldn't have been, Were they fresh or not? Wait, no, they were active. Well, either way, I'm forgetting now, even having seen it a few seconds ago. Anyway, there we go, a Pyrrhic victory for Karak and a bunch of losses on an inconsequential settlement. That certainly works for us. I do have to wonder whether this unit got destroyed, but we're about to see, I guess. A single Plague Claw catapult, just one Plague Claw catapult in this garrison would have probably won this battle. Which is a little bit unfortunate as to the weakness of the garrisons when the walls got removed and when these all turned into minor settlements. I should have given a single artillery piece here. Would have made a pretty darn big difference. Alrighty, fun little fight for an inconsequential settlement that I'm sure we'll get back shortly. We did manage to destroy 2 units of Slayers, 1 unit of Longbeards, Thunderers, and both Organ Guns, which were our main target, which is decent, and I'm sure that Metable will be able to take care of this army without too much trouble. Now, where is this? Castle Templehof. Oh, we've been expecting to lose Castle Templehof for a very, very long time, and well, nah, there's probably no point in finding it. Let's let them have it. Let them have it. Honestly, I'm surprised that the vampires never took Castle Templehof, because we thought that that would happen, like, I don't know, many episodes ago for certain. I don't know how many turns. What do you want, Kolek? Military axe? I'm gonna say no, because you are still kind of disliked by a few of our allied chaos factions. Yeah, man, the vampires got completely crushed between us and then the dwarves suddenly appearing all on their doorstep. And we just gotta make sure we contain the dwarves before they push outwards again. Now, Refugees of War will be Clan Rictus. Okay, so we will be getting Tretch rather than Snitch next turn. Looks like Snitch will be next turn then. Obviously, we will accept the refugees. And Scheif is a supervisor and creator for everybody, apparently. Someone receives Plague, that's fine. Needling lost and Castle Templehof lost will regain those. And these guys were not, in fact, able to reach us. Well, that's just lovely, because it will give Bok the opportunity to go for a lightning strike if we wanted to. Now, that said, he does not have a lot in the way of melee, but he does have 4 Warplog Jezzails. I think this particular army I don't think he'd be able to take care of, mostly because that's just way too many cavalry. This one, however, is a lot more manageable, I think. Lots of cav as well, but this is primarily ranged cav as opposed to melee cav, and is thus nowhere near as concerning. Black Crag has been besieged, the Ice Court has finally been destroyed by our allies, and getting a little bit of upgrades for our various types of Night Runners. Another Plague. Tretch Craventail is quote-unquote available, but wounded for 5 turns. Alrighty, so 4 turns until Lord Skrolk is coming in, and we got 5 until Tretch, and then I guess 6 until we get Deathmaster Snitch. We'll just have to figure out where we're going to deploy whom. Tretch should be deployed somewhere around here. We have the Fortress of Vorag. Actually, ideally, deploy him directly at the Fortress of Vorag to retake everything like Crookback Mountain and all of these areas. And that would be perfect, if we can manage it. Of course, we can't recruit stuff there, but that's fine. Now, what do we have here? Alright, so we have one army that is going to go after Karak Drawn. Skarsnik is sieging Black Crag, but I doubt that he has any kind of possibility of actually winning the battle. In fact, what do we have defending it? Yeah, unless he has like 10 Arachnaroks in there, which I doubt, he's not going to win it. What we'll do is move Queek towards it. He's not going to get intercepted. And then we'll simply move towards Skarsnik next turn. We also got to move these two into Queek's army, though they only... They don't have access to Vermintide yet, so they're relatively useless for a couple turns. We really need Mentor to start working for us and mentor these guys up into higher levels. But oh well, we'll get there, I'm sure. You're also already level 2, so just one more level for Vermintide and suddenly you're incredibly useful. Anyway, we'll figure that out next time, I think. Ooh, would you be able to jump toward... No. I was hoping you'd be able to jump towards Karak Drawn, but if not, I guess we'll have to send one of these armies to Karak Drawn while the other 2 go for Mount Squighorn. Assuming that these guys can actually go down there, and they sort of can. Oh, you can go down there directly. Beautiful. Also wink, / Lanesha Giggle. Yeah, alright, so these guys, we should be able to take out the Crooked Moon without too much trouble by the looks of it. We are shadowing all their armies. Now this, ooh, yes, looks like all of these armies are moving up, and oh, they're in march stance. That's not something you want to be in. We don't have Lightning Strike, but we do have Ancient Cunning, and we do have 2 armies here. Not the ideal kind of armies to fight multiple dwarf forces, but if we can get a couple ambushes, that would be swell. Now you... what do you have in terms of garrison? Not much, but it's certainly somewhat useful. Would you be willing to join war against Zufbar? No. What if we join your... you're not fighting anybody. What if we trade you some garbage settlement that we don't need? Because we could use them as a reinforcement. But there's no settlement I'd probably be willing to give them. Too bad we never took Matorka. Oh, these guys actually raised Needling? Why? What was the point of that? Okay, well, they're welcome to it. Anyway, we'll figure this out next time, as well as all of this, so this looks pretty darn fun. We'll be having lots of battles there. Looks like Festus also raised Griffin Wood, which means Draika is in a much worse position as well when we decide to declare war on her. And aha! The Rot is able to jump to Karak Kadrin, and then attack it not this turn, but next turn as well. So we could take that out and then head south towards these armies to take them all out. It certainly works. And which army actually attacked Needling? It wasn't this one. Oh, did it immediately get destroyed by Wulric? Perhaps it was hurt enough for our allies to actually have done something? Huh. I'm shocked, but pleasantly surprised once again. Anyway, I'm just deliberating as to what's gonna happen next turn, but we are once again out of time, and I am gonna have to call the episode here. Looks like by virtue of the fact that this army got destroyed, it made it very much worthwhile to have fought that battle at Needling, even if it was a settlement we weren't really intent on holding on to. And Needling is part of Stirland, so we will need to take it back. But I'm happy that we got a good result out of that. Anyway, next time, plenty more battles to choose from. Bok, as well as Metabul, as well as somebody. Well, actually, it's just those 2. Oh, wait, no. All of this as well. Lots of fighting left, so stay tuned for more rats, and don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm. And... there we go, and thanks for watching.